Mate, this episode of Jujutsu Kaisen was so good. This season has been amazing so far. This episode was an emotional roller coaster. We saw the inevitable death of Masamichi. We knew this was going to come, especially after Gojo got locked away and the whole Shibuya incident happened, which he's being blamed for. But in reality, the Jujutsu higher ups are using that as like a guise in order to kill him, just because they want the information about his ability and how he does the cursed corpses, how he makes the animated cursed corpses, how he makes them, conscious and all that sort of stuff. They just want information out of him. That's what Jujutsu High always really cares about. They just want power. They want information. At least the higher ups do. It was never about the Shibuya incident. That's just not how it is. It's the same with like Gojo. Same with Yuji. That they're just corrupt. Do you know what I mean? I get why a lot of people leave Jujutsu High and sort of go against them, because the higher ups are just corrupt people. You know what I mean? Like, do they even care about humanity or anything like that, or do they just want power? Do they just want to kill these people for their own benefits? And seeing his death was heartbreaking, because Jujutsu High see him as a bit of not, I don't know if a threat is the right word, but they just want to extract the information out of him on how he does what he does, believing, he's using it for some sort of to create an army or something like that. And that's what they want. They want the ability to do that so they can create more artificial weapons and get more power. That's what I believe anyway. But Masamichi, we saw earlier in the episode, was using his ability for a grieving mother, or for her son, so she could see her son again, even though obviously it's not him, it's his soul inside of this thing, and they get to interact again. But because Jujutsu High have banned this sort of thing, and it's not allowed, they can't even live together. It's so, yeah, it's crazy. And seeing him die and seeing Panda run up to him and hug him and cry was really heartbreaking, man. Like, we haven't seen that side of Panda before, I don't think, like emotionally. This is the person that raised him, really. That's essentially like Panda's dad, pretty much. So seeing him cry after seeing him get murdered by the head of Jujutsu High was heartbreaking. And the death of Masamichi wasn't this big gigantic fight between him and Yoshinobu or something like that. It was basically, we just saw the death of him, like the final moments, and it was just sad and very depressing, really, to see somebody like that. Like, we've seen Masamichi, that was one of the first people we saw in Jujutsu High, and seeing him go out like that, especially with how we know who he is as a person, how, like I said, he helped that grieving mother see her kid again, and just we know he's a good dude. So seeing him go out like that just because there's some corrupt people in Jujutsu High, it's it's really depressing, and it says a lot about that whole institution, to be honest. Like, Gojo was right, we know this. Now we have to talk about the next part of this episode, which is why I said this was an emotional roller coaster, because this part was like just awesome, and it was so well done. And this was Yuji and Megumi trying to find this new guy called Hakari, who's a third year, who's potentially at the level of a Yuta or a Gojo, and they're basically just trying to recruit him onto their side so they can, do well in this culling games, try and get society back to normal. And they want his help, essentially. But the way they did it, like infiltrating his operation, essentially. So Hakari runs this like fighting ring thing, basically, and he's addicted to gambling. Like, gambling, he thinks, is life. He's all about passion. He thinks the most beautiful thing in life is passion, and gambling is, like, in his mind, that's like indicative of passion. He absolutely loves it. So he runs this fighting ring, and Yuji goes in under the guise of like trying to be a competitor or whatever, just to get up to him. And he ends up having this fake fight with Panda, who's essentially trying to do the same thing. And I thought it was great. It was essentially like a wrestling match, as far as I could tell. It was great seeing them like fake fight with each other. But even then, it was still hyped to see Panda versus Yuji, even if it was staged. And eventually, when Yuji does go upstairs, that confrontation between those two, where Yuji is trying to almost get Hakari onto his side, by just like, he doesn't really say anything, but it's more just like Hakari explaining his passion for gambling and why he does what he does. But it's Yuji trying not to inform him why he's actually there, pretty much. I think he wants to slowly sort of try to bring him round onto his side, but Yuji can't lie. We know this. He's terrible at lying, and he tells the worst lie possible. When Hakari asks him about Jujutsu High and asks him about Gojo, Yuji says, "I don't know who Gojo is." And every sorcerer knows who Gojo is. Like, everybody knows who he is. So immediately Hakari sees through a lie and attacks him straight away, because he ran away from Jujutsu High. Well, maybe he didn't run away, but he doesn't trust Jujutsu High, which we saw at the beginning of the episode. There's every right not to. Do you know what I'm saying? So he attacks him straight away. I guess the next episode we're going to get Yuji versus Hakari, which I'm really excited about. Like I said, I don't know anything about Hakari, but he seems like a really cool character. I really like his demeanor, and this whole thing with passion and gambling, I think is very intriguing, and I feel like it's going to bleed into his character a lot. This passion and how he views the world, basically. But the scene itself, where they're just talking, it's so engaging. The way it's animated, every little movement and every like little thing they do, every time they speak, every word they say has a little movement. Like, and it's just one shot for like 3 minutes, but I was so engaged just seeing them talk together and seeing like how they interact. I thought it was so well done. But I loved this episode from start to finish. It was heartbreaking and it was really exciting at the same time. And yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen continues to impress me with just how engaging it is. And I cannot wait for this Culling Games to start. And I can't wait for Hakari versus Yuji if these two fight. I'm really interested to see what Hakari can do. Because like I said, he seems like a very interesting character. But yeah, that was this episode. I really enjoyed it. And let's go. I'll see you guys next week. Let's do it.